She was sitting quietly in her car, engine off, reviewing court notes on her tablet. Just a regular morning. A black woman in a sleek black Tesla parked legally outside a cafe. Then the police cruiser pulled up. The officer didn't greet her, didn't ask if she needed help. He knocked on the window, sharp, loud, hand near his holster, and said what he really came to say. "Is this your car?" Just 20 minutes later, he walked into a courtroom for a routine hearing and froze, because standing at the bench, wearing the black robe of authority, was the same woman he treated like a suspect. The morning sun was still low, casting long shadows over downtown. Streets weren't quite busy yet. A few early joggers passed by, and the smell of fresh coffee drifted from the corner cafe across from the courthouse. In a clean parking space, under a leafy tree, sat a black Tesla Model S. Polished, quiet, legal. Inside the car, Judge Brianna Hayes reviewed her case notes for the day. Her robe was folded neatly on the passenger seat. She wore a navy suit, simple pearl earrings, and her judicial pin over her heart. She didn't rush her mornings. She always arrived early, enough time to prepare mentally before she entered her courtroom. She had her coffee in hand, glasses on, and her focus on the tablet in her lap. The world outside could wait, until it didn't. A sudden knock on the driver's side window cut through her calm. She looked up to see a white police officer, late 30s, tall, stern face, reflective sunglasses. He didn't wave, didn't smile. His stance was wide, one hand resting on his belt, the other tapping twice more on the glass. She pressed the window button halfway down. "Good morning," she said evenly. He ignored the greeting. His first question was simple, but carried weight. "Is this your car?" She paused, met his eyes behind the mirrored lenses. "Yes." He didn't nod, didn't move. "I'll need to see your license and registration." She kept her voice measured. "Why?" "You're parked here." She blinked. "I'm aware." "You looked suspicious." "Suspicious," she echoed. "I'm sitting in a legally parked car, engines off, not bothering anyone." He shifted his feet slightly. "We got a call. Said someone was casing businesses in the area." "Did the caller describe the person?" He hesitated, then, "Not exactly." She exhaled slowly. "So you saw a black woman in a nice car and assumed that was the suspect?" He didn't answer. "I'll need to see your badge and name before I hand over anything," she said. His jaw tensed, but after a moment he flipped open his badge. "Officer Jennings, R. Jennings." She handed him her license. It was current, clean, clear. "Hayes," he read aloud. "What do you do for work, Miss Hayes?" She didn't blink. "You'll find out in about 20 minutes. She took her ID back, rolled the window up, and turned her attention back to her tablet. Calm, collected. He stood there a few seconds longer, then walked back to his cruiser. Across the street, the courthouse loomed with its tall columns and marble steps. As the minutes passed, people began arriving for hearings. Lawyers in dark suits, clerks with folders under their arms, a few defendants looking nervous. Inside her car, Judge Hayes folded her robe neatly over one arm, took one last sip of coffee and stepped out. She crossed the street without rushing. Her heels clicked lightly against the sidewalk. Her presence was quiet but strong, like someone used to being watched but never intimidated by it. She entered the building through the staff entrance. Everyone she passed nodded respectfully. Security didn't ask for ID. She didn't need to be checked. She had earned her place here. Upstairs, courtroom 3B was starting to fill. Public seating was half occupied. On the docket, preliminary hearings, a few traffic cases, and a civil motion. Nothing major. Routine business. At the back of the room, Officer Jennings entered through the side door reserved for law enforcement. He carried a file folder under one arm and glanced casually at the bench. It was still empty. The clerk prepared her notes. The bailiff stood at attention. Then the door behind the bench opened, and in walked the woman he had questioned minutes earlier. Hair pinned neatly, robe buttoned, shoulders squared. She stepped up to the bench, placed the folder beside her gavel, and took her seat without a glance toward the officer in the back. "All rise," the clerk called. Everyone stood, including Jennings. He froze in place. His eyes widened. Judge Hayes glanced across the courtroom once, and for a fraction of a second, their eyes met. No words were exchanged. She looked away, adjusted her papers, and said clearly, "Good morning, let's begin." The officer sat slowly, his face unreadable, but something had shifted in his posture. Something rigid had cracked. She worked through the docket methodically, her voice steady and neutral. She ruled on objections, called names, kept order. Jennings remained silent, seated at the back, watching the same woman he had dismissed minutes earlier, now commanding an entire room with presence alone. But the moment wasn't over. Not yet, because during the first recess he got up and walked toward the chambers. Like this story? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. The story continues. The hallway outside courtroom 3B was quiet during recess. Judge Hayes had just stepped into her chambers when a soft knock landed on her door. She looked up from her desk. A bailiff stepped in. "Judge, there's someone asking to speak with you." "Officer Jennings." Her expression didn't change. "Send him in." Jennings entered the room slowly, hat in hand. The same man who had questioned her that morning now stood uncertain in front of her desk, shifting awkwardly. He didn't sit, just stood. "I didn't know," he started. "Who you were." Brianna leaned back slightly. "And if I wasn't a judge, how would that change the way you treated me?" He opened his mouth, closed it again. "That's not what I meant." She watched him carefully, but not cruelly. "Then what did you mean?" He hesitated. "I was just doing my job. We got a call. A black woman in a nice car, sitting alone. I've seen that go bad before." Her voice didn't rise. "So your instinct wasn't to investigate a crime. It was to assume one had already been committed. By me." He looked down at the floor. "I'm sorry." She didn't rush to forgive him. "Do you understand what it feels like," she asked, "to have your accomplishments, your education, your identity, all reduced to a suspicion because of your skin?" He didn't answer. "You don't," she said, "but maybe you will, eventually." He gave a small nod. "You handled it with grace, more than I deserved." "I wasn't being graceful. I was being careful," she replied. "For my safety, for my life." That hit him. "I'll think about that," he said. "Do more than think," she replied. "Change how you see us, and speak up when the ones beside you refuse to." He left quietly. The door shut behind him. Judge Hayes returned to her notes. Later that week, word spread around the courthouse. Not gossip, something heavier. Staff whispered about the officer who confronted her. Some laughed nervously, some were angry, but most were quiet, reflective. It wasn't just about what happened in the parking lot. It was about everything it represented. 2 days later, Judge Hayes received an invitation. An internal police department event. A community dialogue on race and bias in policing. They asked her to attend as a guest. She said yes. The meeting took place in a dim auditorium at precinct headquarters. About 50 officers attended. Most wore uniforms. A few wore street clothes. Most were white. Jennings sat near the back. Judge Hayes took the stage in plain clothes. No robe, no pin. Just her and a microphone. She didn't bring notes. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone," she began. "I'm here because I was asked to share a moment that felt ordinary to some, but was anything but." She paused. The room was still. "A few days ago, I was questioned by an officer outside this building. He saw a black woman in a nice car, sitting alone, not breaking any law, and assumed something had to be wrong." She didn't name Jennings. She didn't have to. "Let me be clear. This isn't just about me. This is about the single mother on her lunch break, the teenager walking home, the man who's been pulled over 4 times this year for looking suspicious. You may not see the pattern, but we do. We live it." A few heads nodded. Others stared straight ahead. "I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm here to challenge you to see, to recognize how instinct becomes assumption and how assumption becomes danger for people who look like me." Jennings leaned forward slightly, elbows on knees. "This robe I wear doesn't make me safe," she said. "It just makes some people hesitate before they treat me like less." A few eyes dropped to the floor. "You want to serve justice? Start by seeing people clearly, not as suspects, not as profiles, as people." She stepped away from the mic. Silence held for a beat too long, then someone clapped. Another followed. Soon the entire room joined in. Not loudly, not like a show, more like they knew they had to. Afterward, as she stepped outside, Jennings caught up to her. "You didn't have to come," he said. "I did," she replied, "because if you're willing to listen, I'm willing to speak." He looked at her and nodded. "Things will be different next time." She gave a half smile. "Next time, don't wait for the badge. Just treat people with dignity." That weekend, Judge Hayes visited a local school to speak with students, not about what happened, but about what's possible. She told them about the courtroom, the pressure, the responsibility, the power in being prepared, the power in staying composed when the world tries to shrink you. One student, a girl with braids and a notebook full of questions, raised her hand. "Were you ever scared being a judge?" "Yes," Brianna said, "but I was more scared of being silent." Monday came. Same car, same spot, same courthouse. She parked the Tesla, gathered her robe, and stepped out. A patrol car drove past her slowly. The officer inside nodded. She nodded back. No questions this time, just recognition. She climbed the courthouse steps, ready to take the bench again. Same place, same authority, same woman. Only now more people were paying attention. And that was the beginning of change.